Good morning, students. Today I am going to take a revision of the chapter The Age of Industrialization. The history of industrialization is all about development and a story of modern age appears as a wonderful time of technological process. First, I will give you introduction. Two famous pictures published in the year 1900 and 1901 glorified the machines and technology which symbolize the industrialization as a time of technological progress and modernity. In the year 1900, a music book was produced by E.T. Paul showing the dawn of the century on the cover page with the goddesses like figure at the center of the picture. This goddesses is symbolized as the angel of progress, bearing the flag of the new century and perched on wheels with wings which symbolize the time. She is taking a flight into the future and the signs of progress like the railways, camera, machines, printing press and factories are behind her. On 26th January 1901, a trade magazine cover page showed two magicians to glorify machines and technology. At the top of this picture is Aladdin and the modern machines is at the bottom. Aladdin represents the East and the past Orient who built a beautiful palace with his magic lamp, whereas the modern machines represents the West and modernity who weaves bridges, ships, towers and high-rise buildings with the help of his modern tool. Now, before the Industrial Revolution. Now, what is the meaning of proto? Proto means indicating the first or early form of something. Now, what is the meaning of proto-industrialization? Period before or beginning of industrialization. The history of industrialization began with the setting up of the first factories, but there was large scale industrial production in England and Europe, which the historians refers as proto-industrialization. During the 17th and 18th centuries, merchants were not able to cope up within towns because of the powerful urban crafts and trade guilds. And therefore, they moved to the countryside to persuade the peasants and artisans to produce for the international market, and also supplied money to them. Urban crafts and trade guilds were associations of producers who trained the craftspeople, controlled the production, and regulated the price and competition. These trade guilds restricted the entry of the new people into the trade because monopoly rights were granted to them to produce and trade in specific products. This situation made the new merchants difficult to set up their business units in towns. The poor peasants and artisans eagerly agreed to take the advance offered by the merchants and were willing to produce goods for them. During this time, in the countryside, the open fields were disappearing and common were being enclosed. The cottagers and peasants were looking for alternative sources of income because they were dependent on the common land and gathering of firewood, vegetables, berries, hay and straw for their livelihood. Many of them had small plots of land which was not sufficient to provide work to all the family members. It proved good for the peasants and artisans to work for the merchants, as they could now remain the countryside and continue with their small plot cultivation. Their family income was supplemented and also they were able to engage all the family members as labor resources. A close relationship was developed between the towns and the countryside because the merchants were living in the towns, but their work was completed in the countryside. During this period, London came to be known as the finishing center because the finishing work of the cloth was done in London before it was exported in the international market. Now some dates are there that you have to learn. 1730. The earliest factories in England were set up. 1917. The first Indian jute mill in Calcutta. In 1854, the first cotton mill was established in Bombay. 1860, Elgin mill started in Kanpur. You have to write question also. What were merchants? Why were merchants from towns in Europe began to move countryside in 17th and 18th century?